Welcome everyone to Whistler Olympic Park in beautiful British Columbia. It's the 2023 FIS Nordic Junior and Under 23 World Ski Championships. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Scholes and I've got Tim Wintanu here, and it is relay day today. So Tim, what can we expect here?
Well, first of all, Steve, you can see the snow is finally coming down. That's going to mix things up for those classic legs. They have a new course for the relay today that we haven't seen yet in this week of racing. They've taken out some of the big climbs, and so I expect the groups to stay a little closer together and set up for an exciting finish.
Now, Tim, the American team started a tradition of wearing relay socks.
That's right, Steve, and we have our relay socks on.
Yeah, it's going to be all business in the announcing booth today for the relays. But first, let's take a look at the wonderful racing we've had here in Whistler all week long. And here we are with our women's sprint that kicked things off here in Whistler Olympic Park. It was a beautiful day, and this was a week ago. Tossavainen taking it out.
Steve, and Tossavainen, she was the fastest qualifier of that day. She led every single heat and then led that final.
This was
all
just
the way
going into Heartbreak Corner, and then Tossavainen takes over again, sprinting to the finish through the stadium, and Tossavainen just in front of Andreasen and Lisa Eriksson. That's your top three from the sprint on the first day of competition here at Whistler
What a
Olympic
day
Park.
it was to start off the championships. Sun was shining, and here we have the junior men starting off in the sprint final.
Yeah, so 2 Swedes, 3 Norwegians, and 1 Finn. The Swedes taking it out early. The big man, Anton Gran, out front.
There we see Rantala, BIP 101, fastest qualifier. The Finns had an awesome day there with fast qualifying times.
It looked like the Norwegians were moving to the front, but then Anton Gran just getting the corner there, moving to the front. The big man taking gold, and then Danielsson of Sweden taking the silver.
And Rantala finishing off with the bronze medal.
So the Norwegians got shut out on that first day for the junior men. So that was the sprints for the junior men and junior women on the first day of competition. And you can see the snow coming down here as the tension builds for relay day here at Whistler Olympic Park. And then later in the week, we had the mass start. And this is the women's race for the mass start, 20 kilometers.
That's right, Steve. 4 times around, a 5K loop, a couple big climbs out there. The pack got a little bunched up right off the start.
But then the Swedes in front, but you can see in the center of your screen, there is MGA, Mila Grosberg-Haugen Andreasen of Norway, starting to push the pace, and the only skier able to stay with her, Lisa Eriksson. There you go, Eriksson of Sweden, MGA of Norway.
Yeah, and we saw them ski together for so much of it. There was even some moments where they were chatting, and then all of a sudden, Mila broke away on that final climb.
And MGA takes her first World Championship. A lot of emotion for the 17-year-old from Oslo. And then the Swede, Lisa Eriksson, taking a silver. And then the sprint for third.
Yeah, and what a sprint it was. It was our sprint champ, Tossavainen, outsprinting the other women for that bronze medal.
But Andreasen, big win here at the World Championships in the 20K mass start. And there's your podium, 20K mass start for the women. And let's take one more look back at the junior men's 10K individual start free technique.
Yeah, Steve, it was 10K 2 times round, a 5K loop. They had a little bigger climb. There's Molstad, our 3rd place bronze medalist, coming in. Here's Lars Hagen. He was battling it out. It was a battle all the way to the finish. Every second counted. You can see him just pushing around, crossing the line. I believe at this point, Hagen was in the lead in the hot seat. But here's our winner of the day. Stone Cold Nico Antola.
Man, what a machine he was. Just no emotion, just getting the job done, steady as she goes.
He went out of that starting wand, he set a pace, and he did not slow down one bit on that course.
And there is the junior world champion in the men's 10K individual start, Stone Cold in the hot seat there. A world junior champion here at Whistler Olympic Park. And one thing to note, this isn't just cross-country skiing, Tim. There's the ski jumping and the Nordic Combined here this week, here for the World Ski Championships for junior and U23. And they're vying for this, the Mark Hodler Trophy overall for the junior men and women. And
Yes.
It's a battle right now between Norway, Germany, and Austria. Those are your top 3 teams right now in the standings.
And we've seen over the past years, Norway and Germany always battling it out. So this relay counts, and tomorrow's racing as well in the junior category will count towards points for this trophy.
That's correct, yes. So we'll see how things shape up for the junior men and junior women's relay coming up first thing this morning. It's a mixed relay, Tim. And that's important to announce because that's the first time we've done a mixed relay for the juniors. So
That's right, Steve. So it's a woman, a man, a woman, a man heading out, 2 classic legs and then 2 skate legs. So these first 2 skiers that will be heading out will be in the classic technique. You know, we see the snow coming down. That makes things really challenging for finding the right grip wax. You need to find something that you can grip the snow with to kick, to propel yourself forward, but yet doesn't bunch up snow or ice up underneath.
yeah, it's reminiscent of one of the relays at the Vancouver Olympics when the snow started coming down mid-race, and that really caused some chaos out there, changed things up. So let's take a look at the course, Tim, for the relay.
So Steve, new courses today for the relay. You know, we haven't seen these this week in racing, so they've taken out the 2 big climbs on the course. So the black course you can see on your screen is what the first 2 legs are going to be doing. It's the classic technique. They'll go under the bridge, get up to that plateau, and then they'll cut across and loop their way back down. It's a 2.5K loop, but they'll be doing it twice. And then they head into the last 2 legs, the yellow loop. Again, a 2.5K course. Each leg will be doing 2 laps of that yellow course in the skate. It's going to set things up for fast-paced racing in this relay.
Yeah, so we're gonna go down to Tom Stephen out on the course with some comments on today's upcoming relay.
Hey, thanks guys. Yeah, today is a team relay. It's a super, super exciting day. This is the day where you're gonna see a lot of glitter on faces and socks and like some fun outfits out there, and teams are gonna get super excited. The name of the game is to stay in the pack. That's how you're gonna see medals, and it's just gonna be staying with the group for as long as you can until it gets strung out to a top 3. That being said, with the snow, that the group might be pretty big leading into the finish, so we'll have to see what happens, but it's gonna be a super exciting day.
Yeah, definitely. I am looking forward to this, Tim.
Yeah, and we were talking so much about the snow falling down, how that's gonna make things interesting. You know, one technique people use in this like 0-degree snow falling is what we call rub skis or harries. And so we might see some of those skis out there today is where they're sanding the base in the grip zone. They're not actually applying any grip wax to that ski. They're just relying on the little hairs that they're making on that ski to get grip.
Yeah, and an interesting story from those 2010 Vancouver Olympics where the Norwegians did go with those rub skis, the hairy skis, but they iced up, and that hurt the Norwegians, so it's not always an easy decision.
No, sometimes wax is faster, sometimes harries are faster.
Okay, so here we are, just minutes away from the athletes entering the starting gates here for the mixed relay.
Coast Outdoors is Canada's premier cross-country ski store. We're proud sponsors of this year's World U23 Cross-Country Ski Championships at Whistler Olympic Park. We carry the best cross-country skis, boots, poles, clothing, and more. If you're serious about this sport, check out coastoutdoors.ca.
Welcome everyone to Whistler Olympic Park, site of the 2010 Vancouver Olympic Nordic events. The snow is coming down here for the 2023 FIS Nordic Junior and U23 World Ski Championships. Right now, coming up is the Junior Mixed Team Relay for cross country, 4 times 5 kilometers, Tim. Looks like it's going to be an interesting day here.
Yes, Steve, we'll look at the courses in a little bit here, but they have new courses for this relay event. It's going to make things a little spicy out there. The snow's coming down, which always makes those classic legs really interesting. What are they going to be waxing with? Are they going to go with rub skis where they sand the base? What is going to be faster out there today?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting for the wax techs here today. You know, as we were talking before, there was a big story in 2010 Vancouver Olympics where the Norwegian team went with those rub skis. It wasn't quite the right thing to go with, and it was a big issue and big topic in Norway back then. So very similar day here today for our junior mixed relay. You can see it's above zero, but some wet snow coming down.
Yeah, so humidity's really high. The snow is falling down. You know, from a wax perspective, this is definitely the hardest conditions to wax for. I'd rather have rain falling down than actual snowflakes falling down at this point.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting over the course of this race, 4 times 5 kilometers for these athletes. Again, mixed relay, 2 men, 2 women for each team.
Yes, Stephen, it actually alternates. So the women, you can see here, are running to that starting area. The women are going to go out first. They're going to tag off to a man, and then tag off to another woman, tag off to another man. First 2 legs are skate. Last 2 legs are first 2 legs are classic. Sorry about that. Last 2 legs are skate.
That's correct, Tim. Now, let's go through, Tim, just some of your picks here. You know, it's obviously Norway dominating a lot of the races, but it's going to be, I think, super interesting here for the mixed team relay.
For sure, Steve. You know, Norway's been so dominant. They're definitely one of my favorites. You know, they're ranked first here in the starting area, but you know, the Italians have a pretty strong, well-rounded out team. The Finns have been so dominant in that sprint. I think the course is going to set up those sprinters really nicely. The Switzerland team, also some solid results, and you can't rule out Canada. You know, the interesting thing about relay day is so many athletes sometimes just step up and have outstanding performances out there.
Yeah, that's really interesting that you mentioned that, you know, in the relay, I've heard athletes say before that, you know, on relay day, I just rise to a whole new level. I might hurt really bad on my own race, but when it comes to a team event, I'm doing it for my team, and I can just get to another level.
Yeah, Steve, there's just something about doing it for your team. You're no longer racing for yourself, you're racing for your team out there.
Yeah, and one of the dark horses, I think, and you mentioned it, Switzerland, all 4 skiers had really solid results. So it's going to be interesting with Switzerland here, if they can maybe surprise here today. But certainly Norway, the lead favorite here, and they're going to kick off their team with MGA, Mila Grosberg-Haugen Andreasen.
And there we see a shot of Lisa Eriksson with the sweet team leading things off. You know, she was strong in the sprint. She was strong in that mass start classic race. So it's interesting how some of these countries have picked their teams. Do they want the strongest skiers starting off, or do they want the strongest skier, you know, anchoring that leg? And here we have the courses. So you can see the black course and the yellow course. The black course is what the first 2 legs will be doing. It is the classic technique. You know, they'll go under the bridge, they'll go up to the plateau shot, and they're going to cut across, skip out on those first 2 big climbs that we saw out there, and they're going to, yeah, it's going to probably make that pack stay close together, and then setting up the last 2 legs for the yellow course to skate, which looking like a really fast course out there and should have an exciting finish.
Yeah, definitely excited for this junior mixed relay. There's MGA, Lisa Eriksson for Sweden on your right, Sammy Smith from Sun Valley, Idaho, on your left. And we're underway here for the junior mixed relay. It's going to be women, men, 2 classic legs, then 2 skate legs, and MGA, Mila Grossberg, Haugen, Andreasen leading it out. Erickson right beside her, Sammy Smith right on her skis as they head out of the stadium here, Tim. They're going to do 5K, 2 times the 2.5K loop, and then hand off to the men for the second classic leg.
Yeah, Steve, and we've seen, from that course profile, this new course, taking out some of the bigger climbs is really going to keep this pack together. So it's going to be real hard for anyone to put a surge on and try and break away from the rest of the field.
Now, this is the junior mixed relay, so this is the first time they've done that. In the past, they've gone junior women, 4 skiers, and junior men, 4 skiers, but this is mixed, 2 men, 2 women. And how they started the order was based on past results. They combined junior men and women and then ranked them based on that. So you can see Norway #1 after taking a 1st and 2nd last year at the Junior World Championships in the 2 relays, but still very, very close together. And with the snow falling, Tim, does that make it a factor for leading or following?
Oh, for sure, Steve. As the snow falls, it's going to build up in that classic track. And so those first skiers hitting that track are going to be plowing through snow, pushing that snow. Whereas if you're right in behind someone, it's going to take some of that snow away and create less drag.
Yeah, and you can see on that first descent, Sweden moving up. It's going to be interesting. You also see the Canadian, Allison Mackey, leading things out for Canada. The Edmonton Eagle, Allison Mackey in Canada for the first leg.
And Steve, you can see those first 3 teams that went into that downhill: Norway, Sweden, Finland. They all started off with those sprinters from that very first day we saw earlier in the highlights.
That's right. And also again, Sammy Smith in there for the Americans. Very strong sprinter. Also had a good individual start race as well.
Yeah, Sammy Smith was 8th in the sprint. So she's proven that she can sprint as well.
And we see the Italians out front. That is Martin Pinter, 7th in the classic race, national junior champion in
5th
classic.
place in the sprint. So again, a lot of these countries have set up the first leg of this relay with their sprinters.
Yeah, that's right. And Martin Pinter from Italy, from the same sporting club as the great skier Giorgio Decenta, and also the great alpine skier Alberto Tomba. So lots of great sporting heritage behind the Italian Martin Pinter as she leads this race. There's still 5 or 6 skiers in that lead group, and it is Italy pushing the pace.
And Steve, know what's interesting about this length of race? It's a 5K lap or 2.5K lap times 2 for each of these athletes. It's right in between that sprint race and a distance race. And so our true pure sprinters are gonna struggle a little bit with that distance, whereas our true endurance distance skiers are gonna find it a little too short to really grind it out.
Yeah, so it's interesting, just the picking of the members of the team, and some teams it's really hard. We talked to the Norwegian coach yesterday, and the look on his face from having to try and pick the different teams, it was going to be a hard decision.
Yeah, I'm curious if, when they were selecting some of the teams, if the coaches actually sat down with all the athletes and just got an overall sense of how everyone was feeling after a week of racing. There's going to be some tired bodies out there. You want to make sure people are still feeling fresh for these races because there's a lot of them on the line.
Yeah, it was interesting, the Norwegian team for their anchor leg picking Matthias Holbach for a skate leg, even though he did his best results on the classic side. But lots of different considerations for the team. Do you want a good sprinter at the end? Do you want a more strong endurance skier at the end? It's not a clear decision to be made, and you also got to look at your team, how they're recovering from all the races this week. So many factors go into the choices. A lot of second guessing, a lot of Monday morning second guessing after every relay, but it is what it is, and these teams have been picked. And we're just on the first leg. If you're just joining us, the first leg of the junior mixed relay. It is man, woman, 2 classic legs, 2 skate legs. Sorry, women, man, 2 classic legs, 2 skate legs, and there is Italy. A surprise at the start, but Switzerland is in there as well.
Yeah, and it seems like the Finn, Tossavainen, has just fallen off slightly, and Sammy Smith is sticking on the tails of her skis.
And I like the strategy here of Sammy Smith. She knows Tossavainen is a very strong classic skier. Rather than use her energy up, trying to chase on her own, put the pressure on Tossavainen in Finland to try and close that gap. So we've got Italy, Sweden, Norway, and Switzerland. Now Switzerland, their anchor skier is Marina Kalin, who took a bronze early this week in the skate race in 5th. Oh,
and look at this. They had some fast skis out there, Steve. They easily just caught that lead group. And now we got, how many, 7 teams out there, I think, battling it out for top position?
6 teams, but you saw the skis of the Americans. Sammy Smith using the power of Tossavainen to initially close that gap, and then they hit the skis on that downhill. So we've got Italy in the lead. That's Martin Pinter, number 5. On your right, there is MGA, Mila Grossberg-Haugen of Norway. And then we've got the Swiss skier, Lisa Eriksson. Then
the Swedish skier, Lisa Eriksson, in bib number 3. And Kalin from Switzerland, bib 7. Sammy Smith there, bib number 2. Really pushing to stay on the tails of Kalin's skis. And Tossavainen looks like just slightly falling off that pace.
What a gritty race here by Sammy Smith, just holding that lead pack, and you see this in the relays. They're just rising to a new level, competing for their team. As Norway comes down, descending into the stadium. So they're finishing their first 2.5 kilometer lap. They do 2 2.5 kilometer laps. Again, it's women, men, women, men. First 2 athletes are classic, the second 2 athletes are skate, and this is very interesting, Tim.
And Steve, look at that snow falling down. It's definitely going to make things a lot slower out there than what we've seen in previous days of racing. Just the amount of moisture, it's a heavy wet snow falling down in the track, so they're going to lose some of that glide.
Oh my goodness, Sammy Smith coming to the front for the Americans here on the first leg. Oh my goodness. From 5th to 1st.
She's got some fast skis out there to be able to double pull across that flat and make up that much ground.
The Americans looking good here. Sammy Smith leading out, number 2. Norway, number 1, sitting 2nd spot right now. 5, 6 skiers. Tossavainen has made it back to this front group. So USA, Norway, Sweden, Italy, Finland, and Switzerland. And you can see a little bit of pushing there between the Swiss skier and the Finnish skier. They want to be in the tracks behind the skier in front of them. So there's Sammy Smith out front now. Andreasen from Norway moving to the front. Sammy Smith getting that inside line as they head out on their second of 2 2.5 kilometer loops. So Andreasen now trying to push the pace here. She has been so dominant this week with 2 gold medals and a silver medal. I think here her strategy is to push the pace.
Yes, that's right. You know, it's so important this first leg of a relay to really kind of push the pace, set your team up in a good position for that second leg versus, you know, if you're falling off the pace just a little bit, then you're always fighting. Every other leg, you're just fighting to get back on.
And there's Allison Mackey. She is sitting right now, 7th spot for the Canadians, pulling away from the French and the Polish team. Mackey trying to move forward. Now we've got a breakaway. And Andreasen and Eriksson moving ahead as Sammy Smith of the USA leading this next group of 3. Andreasen pushing on his climb out of the stadium.
What a gap they opened up on that climb up above the stadium, Steve.
And you could see Andreasen just look over her shoulder and say, who is there? Eriksson glued to her just like the classic mass start race.
And that's why these sprinters are so good at just putting in those little surges on these climbs to get that lead. You know, this first leg just sets the tone for the entire race.
So Andreasen from Norway, Eriksson of Sweden, then a gap to the Americans of Sammy Smith, the Italians, to Martin Pinter, the Swiss Marina Kalin, the Finn Tossavainen.
And Steve, if we took the snow away from this shot, it just reminds me so much of that classic mass start race as they came up that hill where Eriksson and Andreasen are just skiing side by side away from the rest of the field.
So you can see the time gaps here. 10 seconds between the front two and that group battling for third position. So Andreasen now using her strategy of pushing the pace here on the second of 2.5 kilometer loops in this first leg in the junior mixed relay. And there we see one of her teammates with some poles there, just in case a broken pole, cheering on the Norwegians. And this group of three, Sammy Smith for the Americans.
And then behind this chase group, we see Tossavainen, and in behind Tossavainen, just coming through, there's Allison Mackey. If Allison Mackey can put a surge on and catch Tossavainen, it will just set up that second leg a lot better.
Yeah, so we can see Mackey is only 12 seconds behind Tossavainen, and Tossavainen was the gold medalist in the sprint, third in the mass start. So a great start here for the Canadian from Edmonton Nordic, Allison Mackey. That gap, I think, is extending. It was about 10 seconds, but I'm gonna say it's just extending a little bit.
Again, we know Sammy Smith has some fast skis from that first lap on the downhill. She easily bridged that gap. It is a little bit of a bigger gap. Can her skis help accelerate her to that front?
There we see some of the other teams. That's Kazakhstan, their lead skier Tomachiova, 18-year-old skier with that team. And then team 13, that's Australia. That is Xana Evans. Her parents, 2 Olympians. A very interesting story. Her parents, one a cross-country skier, one a speed skater. And they initially met at the Olympic Games. So Xana Evans skis a lot at Falls Creek in the Australian Alps, about 12 hours south of Sydney. She's had some strong results this last month as they've come to Canada to train for these
And
World Junior
here are our
Championships.
leaders continually pushing that pace, trying to set the tone of the race, setting up for leg 2 coming up shortly here.
And there's your trace group. Sammy Smith moving to the front. Kaylin of Switzerland just behind her, and DeMartin Pinter, the Italian, sitting in 5th spot right now. There's your 2 leaders. Eriksson moving to the front. Eriksson deciding she's got some juice to push the pace here. And it looks like Andreasen really having to push hard here to stay with Eriksson.
Look at the turnover by Eriksson. You know, she's been battling it out with the MGA all week long. I think she wants to show her that, hey, I'm stronger than you still after a week of racing, and she has opened up a gap here.
That's the first weakness we've seen for Andreasen as Eriksson pushes the pace here in the closing stages of this first leg of the junior mixed relay. Eriksson wanting to get a gap for Sweden. They know Norway has a very strong team here. Every second can matter here as Sweden with Eriksson. Lisa Eriksson pushing the pace. Her birthday just a few days ago. And there is Sammy Smith now, knowing it's the end of her leg coming up. The final climb here of her leg, the first leg of this junior mixed relay. And they have made some room on the Italians.
But look at this lead that Lisa Eriksson has created for the Swedish team. This is going to set them up really well for the second leg. You know, the second classic leg, there's going to definitely be a little bit of feedback. She'll probably be able to give some of the coaches that the coaches can then relay on to the second leg about how the tracks are skiing, which tracks to be in, which tracks are collecting more snow, because the tracks with more snow are going to be slower out there than the tracks that have been skied in.
And there is Switzerland and the US, 3rd and 4th, then the Italians in 5th. So this is a classic leg. They'll be handing off to one of the men also skiing classic. There is Eriksson. She'll be handing off to Danielsson of Sweden. He took a silver in the classic sprint, so a very strong skier. Andreasen will be handing off to Lars Heggen, who took 2nd in the skate race, 10th in the classic, but Heggen will be skiing Classic here. One 17-year-old in MGA handing off to another 17-year-old for Hagen for Norway, but there's the Swedish handoff.
There's the exchange. So again, the exchange has to happen in the exchange zone. You see some whiskers out there. They have to do body-to-body contact. Typically, it's a hand-to-body for it to be a clean exchange.
Now, what's the strategy here for Danielson? Does he go out hard, or does he just pace himself just to keep his heart rate down? It's always an interesting strategy as the Americans hand off. That is Luca Riley for the Americans, and for the Swiss, that is Fabrizio Albacini, who was 7th in the classic race, so a strong classic skier for the Swiss. As we see Danielson of Sweden, the silver medalist from the sprint, and Hagen, the silver medalist from the skate race, but skiing classic here. He was at a great race in classic, and he's closing that gap very quickly.
Yeah, he's closed that gap. That gap is pretty much over with, but you can see both of them are skiing really relaxed. They're not getting overly excited. They have to do 2 laps of this 2.5. You know, you don't want to go out too hard where you don't have anything for that second lap. You know what, Steve, I'm a little surprised that it spread out this much, you know, especially with those top women starting. They were all so dominant, so strong in that sprint race. I thought that the field was going to stay closer together. And what a great race by Lisa Eriksson to push the pace and open up a gap.
Yeah, so now what is the strategy here for the Swedes and the Norwegians? And there we've got, that's the Finnish team. That's Eero Ranttila.
And then we have bib number 4 there. That was Xavier McKeever coming in. Looked like he was double pulling really strong to try to close up the gap and catch the Finn.
Of course, Xavier McKeever taking a silver medal with Team Canada in the 2020 Junior World Championships in Germany. So on the left of your screen, that is Elias Danielson. On the right of your screen, Lars Hagen. Each of them has a silver medal so far in these championships. And now Albacini pushing the pace here as the American Luca Riley sits on his skis, the University of Colorado athlete. Went to high school in Boulder, Colorado.
You know, Stephen, just looking at past results, Luca Riley only skied the classic race in this championship, so he's probably well rested, set up nicely for this relay.
That's a really good point. Well rested for the relay for the Americans as
and
the
you can
snow
see that
pours
gap
down.
has grown from the women's leg. It's 20 seconds to third. So Norway and Sweden with a 20-second lead over your 3rd and 4th place there, US and Italy.
Yeah,
US and Switzerland.
Yeah, and I think this is a good move here for Luca Riley. Albacini, a very strong skier. He was 7th in the classic race. I think what you do strategically is let the Swiss skier push the pace, and Luca Riley just stay efficient, save energy, conserve energy, stay behind the Swiss skier. There is now Hagen of Norway moving to the front. He's closed the gap that Eriksson had opened up, but it would have given Danielson just a little bit of a recovery there, not pushing too hard as Hagen caught him.
And there's a shot of Xavier McKeever there. Bib 4, Steve, you mentioned earlier, he won a silver medal in the relay event when it was separated gender, female and male.
So we can see Italy in 5th, Finland in 6th, Canada in 7th, 48 seconds back, about 28 seconds out of that 3rd place position. And here's the French skier. This is Estienne, and the Polish skier Jarecki, and the Japanese skier for their team, Kiyoki. And very, very reminiscent of the men's relay at the 2010 Vancouver Olympics when the snow was coming down just like this. So this is the 2nd leg, the men skiing classic here. This is the junior mixed relay. Goes woman, man, 2 classic legs, 2 skate legs, and it's 2 laps for each skier, 2 laps of a 2.5 kilometer course for 5K. This is the first of those 2.5K loops on the 2nd leg. And here we have Lars Hagen and Danielson still together. And this is 3rd and 4th, Switzerland and USA.
Yeah, so that's Albacini in bib number 7 and Luca Riley in bib number 2. They're working together. See if they can try close a bit of a gap. We'll see a time split shortly.
And just looking at the body language, the 17-year-old Lars Hagen looking very efficient.
And Steve, we can just see the times coming through. So the last time check was 20-second lead for these two skiers. They've now increased that to 25 seconds over third and fourth.
So there we've got the Swiss skier and the American skier. They're third and fourth. And there's the Italian skier, Davide Gio, closing that gap, only a few seconds back. Then the Finnish skier, Ranttila, and then McKeever for the Canadians. So that Swiss skier pushing the pace. Luca Riley now moving to the side. Oh my goodness. It looked like Albacini was gonna pull ahead, but Luca Riley, the University of Colorado skier from Boulder, Colorado, matching the pace of Albacini, who was 7th in the Classic Mass Start race. Luca Riley on a massive race here.
And Steve, they're coming into the stadium. They still have one more 2.5K loop to do.
Looking at the skis, Tim. It looks
like the Swedish, they got some fast skis again, just like on sprint day. They've been really nailing the wax. So you saw in that descent, Danielson stepped out of the draft and was able to pass Hagen.
Now the Italian has moved up to that group of, now it's group of 3, battling for third position. Davide Gio, who is 5th in the classic race. This could be interesting. If Gio goes to the front of that group, will that group stay together, and will that allow the Swiss and the American to close this gap to these two skiers? As Danielson is out front. Clearly the Swedes, at least Danielson, a little bit faster skis than the Norwegians. This is a strong, strong start for the Swedes. And now this is Albacini moving ahead. So the Swiss showing maybe they got a little bit better skis on that descent into the stadium. So just so you know, they're coming through on just lapping through here for the 2.5 kilometer loop. Each skier will do this 2.5 kilometer loop twice. So they're heading out, these skiers here on the second leg are heading out for their second lap.
And Steve, that gap has increased by even more. It's now 30 seconds. At 6.6K, it was 25 seconds, and now at the 7.5K mark into this relay, it's at 30 seconds, or 35 seconds, 30 seconds, sorry.
So there's this climb out of the stadium. Luca Riley just falling off the pace of the Swiss skier. There's the Swiss skier Albacini. There's the Italian Gio. Can Luca Riley of the Americans hold on to these guys?
And you can, looking at past results, you know, Albacini was 7th in that classic mass start. He did not race the sprint. 10th place in the skate. Some strong results by Albacini.
And Hagen is pushing the pace. You could see he was breathing hard, and Danielson was gritting his teeth. So this is the strategy that Andreasen undertook, pushing the pace on the second lap of her leg there. So Switzerland in 3rd, Italy number 5 in 4th, then the American, then the Finn, Ranttila catching that group. So that is 3rd through 6th, and there's the Canadians, Xavier McKeever of Canmore, Alberta.
Yeah, it definitely looks like he's made up some time in that 3rd place position, so if he can continue to push the pace, he's a strong sprinter and an endurance skier, so he can really push on the second lap and hopefully close that gap and set up his teammates.
Now Luca Riley, he's fallen off the pace of 3rd and 4th, but he's got Ranttila behind him. And oh, now Hagen opening up a gap on Danielson. Hagen opening up a few meters on Danielson here on this second leg, the final classic leg, as we enter to the final kilometer. Look at the double pulling of Hagen.
Look at that turnover rate. You can just see how fast his tempo is pulling compared to that of Danielson, bib 3 there. He's definitely moving quickly and opening that gap.
Hagen has now opened about 20 meters on Danielson. Danielson looking significantly weaker than Hagen. Oh my goodness. Danielson just struggling to push forward here. Hagen has opened up about 4 seconds as they head into a descent here. This is now back to 5th and 6th.
And not only has Hagen opened up 4 seconds on Danielson, but he's opened up even more on that 3rd and 4th spot. You know, he's trying to solidify that 1st place position, or at least the podium for the Norwegians.
Yeah, definitely Hagen and Danielson for Norway and Sweden, they're pulling away from those chase groups. That looks to be the battle for gold and silver, but a big, big battle for that third place position right now. Again, we're on this second leg. It is woman, man here, and here comes McKeever.
He's definitely gaining ground on that group. You know, he's now off Luke O'Reilly, only about 12 seconds.
At 20 seconds off the Swiss skier. McKeever getting the cheers from the fans here in Canada. The Canmore, Alberta athlete trying to close in on third place. That is third and fourth. That is fifth right now. The Finnish Eero Rantala. Bronze medal from the classic sprint. 20 seconds separating third and seventh. There's the American Luke O'Reilly.
And the Canadian Xavier McKeever coming through.
McKeever closing that gap. And there is the Swedish skier sitting second spot. Oh my, you can just feel the agony that he's going through. He tried so hard to stay with this man, Lars Hagen, but Hagen pulling away, and it was really in that double pole section where he just turned on the jets. And you can see this is that climb that goes above the stadium. So this is the final climb as the Norwegian junior coach gives him some guidance. Looks like he was signaling 10 seconds is my read of what he was signaling.
And here we see coming through the checkpoint, 16-second lead over Danielson. You know, and that's that 5K distance. That's what makes it so challenging for, you know, the pure sprinters. Just a little too long of a race for the pure sprinter for someone like Danielson. And Hagen, who's more of an endurance racer than we saw this week's result, is finding this 5K, you know, relatively easy, so to speak.
Yeah, so 16 seconds. Yeah, obviously Hagen, who was third place in the 20K race up until about 17 kilometers. He's a distance athlete, and he's got a gap now on Danielson, and Danielson just gasping for oxygen here on this climb here, going above the stadium. Now look at this. McKeever has moved into sixth for the Canadians. He is 15 seconds out of third.
Making up time. That's another 5 seconds he made up on third place there, Stephen, that split.
There's Hagen. He is going to be finishing the second leg for the Norwegians. He'll be handing off to Brusvin Jensen, who was the silver medalist in the skate just a couple days ago.
She was 14th in a sprint, so she's got some top-end speed as well, can handle the distance.
Yeah, I think this is just right for Brusvin Jensen. Push the pace here. She's going to have about a 16 to 20 second lead.
So as Hagen comes in here, you can see the whiskers there. He's going to be crossing over the whiskers.
And it's hand to body.
And that's the exchange zone. He's got to make contact.
And it's got to be an exchange zone, and that's a clean handoff.
Yeah, that's a clean exchange.
There's Brusvin Jensen.
You know, she knows what sort of lead she has coming in to this leg, and she's going to try and capitalize on that lead and keep pushing that pace and see if she can increase it to secure that top spot for her teammate.
Now here is Elias Danielson handing off to Tova Eriksson. No relation to Lisa. She was 5th in the skate race.
8th in the classic, 10th in the sprint. She's an all-rounder. This course could suit her.
And you just don't know at this point. Are the skis there? How are the legs? How is the recovery?
Yes, Steve, it's been a long week of racing.
23 seconds is the gap right now at the handoff between Norway and Sweden. And here's Switzerland and Italy handing off. Switzerland handing off to Siri Vigor.
So this is the battle for third place. You can see between the Swiss and the Italian skiers. 5th place there, Finnish team. Rantel is just going to be tagging off to...
Rantala handing off to Elsa Torvinen. But for the Italians, that is Nadine Laurent. 12th in the skate race. Some great results in the sprint races. Siri Vigor, she was part of the gold medal winning team, I believe, bronze medal winning team. No, gold medal winning team, I believe, from the 2020 World Championships. So she's got some experience in these relays. There's Brusveen Jensen. Silver medal in the individual skate. She is being chased by Tova Eriksson of Sweden.
So interesting tidbit, Steve, on Brusveen Jensen. I actually went to university with her aunt. I didn't know about that, and someone messaged me and said, hey, by the way, you were a teammate on the ski team with her aunt. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And here we've got the handoff for Poland, France, and Austria. Polish skier is Skirat. The French skier is Kupa. And the Austrian skier is Lugender. And there you can see the coaches. They'll be getting information out on the course. They want to give some time splits. We are on the third leg, and there we've got third and fourth. That is the battle for third position.
Steve, and Nadine Laurent, bib number 5 there. She's looking so comfortable in behind the Swiss skier. You know, again, it's the first lap here in this 2.5K course. Yeah, she can just be relaxed and maybe start pushing that pace second time around. And here Alexandra Luxmore here, really charging hard and closing that gap on the fin. Only 5 seconds to 5th place there.
Oh my goodness. Luxmore from British Columbia, right? From
Revelstoke, Revelstoke, British Columbia.
Oh my goodness, the Canadians are moving up here.
Yeah, and that was a great leg by Xavier McKeever to set her up into a spot where she can attack and hopefully close that gap into 5th, 4th, and maybe even 3rd place here as we see 3rd and 4th come through your screen.
And Finland not too far out of that battle for 3rd right now. Oh, and there's the Canadian.
Look at her. She's free skating on the descent. Some of these other athletes have been just tucking and gliding, but she's pushing on the descents, trying to make time wherever she can.
So the Canadians have moved ahead of the Americans. Luxmore for the Canadians and Haley Brewster for the Americans, as we see the Norwegian leader right now, Brusveen Jensen. Already a silver medal in the sprint. She was part of the Norway women's team that won last year in the World Junior Championships.
Yeah, Steve, she was a silver medal in the skate race, not the sprint. She was 14th in the sprint.
Thank you. So Tova Eriksson, 26 seconds behind the Norwegian. So it's Sweden, 26 seconds back. But that battle for 3rd is getting extraordinarily interesting. 6 or 7 teams, maybe 5 or 6 teams are still in it. There's the Swedes. That is Tova Eriksson.
And here you can see, Steve, this is the last big climb. It takes them above the stadium before they loop back down and do another lap of the 2.5-kilometer course.
That's right. This is the first lap of this 3rd leg. So there you see the Swiss at 104, then the Italian, the Finns just a few seconds back, and the Canadians about 13 seconds, 12 seconds back for the Canadians, and the Americans with Haley Brewster right behind them. What a battle for 3rd place. 5 teams within 14 seconds here on the 3rd leg.
And there's still a lot of course, a lot of racing ahead, and so a lot can happen over that 12-second gap.
There's Tova Eriksson of Sweden. She was part of the Swedish team that won a bronze medal in the 2020 World Junior Championships in the women's relay. But this is the mixed relay, the first ever mixed relay at the Junior Women's World Championship. There's Brusveen Jensen looking very strong. Silver medal in the skate race a couple days ago. Beautiful technique. She is going all out here as she laps through. So she's finished 2.5 kilometers of her 5-kilometer leg. This is the 3rd leg here. So she'll got another 2.5 kilometers before she hands off. She is helping Norway in the lead right now. Last we saw, it was 26 seconds on the Swedes. Looking good so far, but here's the Swedes. Here's Tova Eriksson. She was 5th in the skate race. Looking very good here, but not making any dent in the time gap that Brusveen Jensen had when she started this 3rd leg. 32 seconds now. So Brusveen Jensen is opening the gap to the Swedes.
You know, and that was the Norwegian strategy right from the start, is let's establish our position early and try and capitalize on that and keep pushing that pace to make sure we got that gold medal in our grasp.
Yeah, so Norway looking very good. They'll be handing off to Mathias Holbach in a couple kilometers. There is Brusveen Jensen, just gasping for oxygen here at the Whistler Olympic Park. Now the battle for third. Nadine Laurent of Italy moving to the front. Siri Vigor of Switzerland, then just 7 seconds back, the Finnish skier Torvinen, as these skiers head out for another 2.5 kilometers on their leg. That is third
Steve,
through
it's the
fifth.
second lap that's really important. How these athletes push on the second lap, if they can, you know, open the gap and set up the next teammate.
So we can see the American and the Canadian teams. They are about 20 seconds out of third place position right now. But you can see based on the times, they are together. Haley Brewster for the Americans, Alexandra Luxmore for the Canadians. Luxmore from the Revelstoke Nordic Club that has 3 athletes on the Canadian junior team here at these World Championships. And there is Brusveen Jensen.
Just powering her way up this climb, powering her team in that first place position.
Just wonderful technique, wonderful power from the 19-year-old from Norway. Oh, you can start to see the legs just start to weaken a little bit as she's on this descent. Getting close to the end of her lap. She's about about partway through this second lap of her 5-kilometer leg.
Yeah, Stephen, again, on that 5-kilometer leg, I know talking with Luke Jagger yesterday, he said that 5K is that awkward distance for skiers. You know, either a sprinter wants that course a little shorter, or the distance skiers want it more about the 10K to really capitalize on grinding it out.
So Sweden still sitting 32 seconds back. The Italian and Swiss teams a minute back, so it's about 30 seconds between the Norwegians and the Swedes, and then about another 30 seconds between the Swedes and that battle for third position here. Again, if you're just joining us, this is the third leg of the junior mixed relay. This is the women skating. They'll hand off to the men skating for that final leg very shortly. Tove Eriksson driving. Look at that beautiful technique. Looks like she's still got some power there. And there's the American and Canadian here.
Yeah, it looks like Brewster slowly pulling away from Luxmore.
Luxmore giving it everything out there. Trying to stay in contention here in that battle for third. There is Vigor for Switzerland. And number 5, that's the Italians.
And it looked like Vigor had good skis there. She was able to stay in the tuck all the way down into that corner, whereas Nadine Laurent had to do some free skates to keep up with her.
And the Finnish skier, Torvinen, just behind them, so close. And she is going to be handing off to Antola, who won the 10K individual start.
Stone cold Antola. He won the 10K. He was second in the classic mass start. You know, so we know he can close some ground on these skiers.
Yeah, and that's why the Italians and Swiss skiers, they want to keep that gap on Finland, because they know they need a head start once they hand off on that final leg. And here is Brusveen Jensen, the final climb of her leg. This climb's just above the stadium here at Whistler Olympic Park. Brusveen Jensen, no weakness there. She's cheered on. Looking good here as she's got a 35-second gap on the Swedes. Norway looking very good here. They'll be handing off to Mathias Holbach. Very interesting choice for the anchor leg for Norway, Mathias Holbach,
He was 4th in the sprint, 1st in the classic distance race, and 8th in the skate.
And there's Tove Eriksson, the Swedish skier.
And we can see Tove Eriksson just powering up that final climb, trying to close that gap down. It's a 35-second gap to Norway. As they come up over the top, they'll descend into the stadium and tag off to that anchor leg. And here's the battle for bronze. We've got Vigor in bib number 7 from Switzerland. Nadine Laurent, bib number 5. Taking up the climb.
Okay, so we're going to go down to Tom Stephen just for some quick insights. The gaps are closing for third place position. So Tom, what just going through your mind right now as an athlete in this position late in this race trying to close some gaps?
Yeah, hey, thanks, guys. It's becoming a super interesting race for a podium. The leader is really extending their lead, and I don't know if they'll be able to catch them. But for a podium, the athletes have to start working really hard to try to get there. Yeah, that's all I can see. Back to you guys.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
Okay,
Thanks
and we
for
can
that
see
update.
there another clean exchange by Norway. Holback taking that anchor leg. He knows he has a comfortable lead, but he can't relax too much. There's going to be pressure to try and close that gap. He's got to continue to push that pace 2 times around this 2.5K course.
Yeah, he wants to control his pace. He doesn't want to have too much excitement and go, way above his threshold and start burning his matches. He knows he's got a gap. Just ski efficiently and just within his limits.
Exactly, Steve. Finding that balance of maintaining that lead, but not using up all his energy too early on, where the Swedes could then catch him.
Okay, now here's the handoff for the Swedes. So it's a 44-second gap.
Yeah, and that
now.
lead has been extended even more by Jensen Skiing, and so we'll see if we got
Yeah, I think the
Brookstrom, see if he can close down that gap.
And I think the Swedes have to be worried about the Finns with Antola, the final leg for the Finns, the strongest skier in the distance races, as we see Switzerland only 21 seconds back.
That's right, Steve. Sweden's in this kind of no man's land here. You can't get too comfortable because there's, Sweden, Italy, Finland coming to try and fight for that silver medal, and yet he doesn't want to, push too hard that he blows up either.
So that was Niklas Steiger from Switzerland, 4th in the skate race, taking the final leg for the Switzerland team. That is your leader, Norway, Matthias Holback. He's got a 44-second lead into this final leg of the junior mixed relay, the first ever junior mixed relay at the Junior Nordic World Ski Championships. There is the Swiss skier, Steiger, 4th in the skate race, pushing the pace.
12th in the classic, 12th in the sprint. He's a good all-rounder. He can sprint, and we also know he can skate ski.
And then Artuzzi for the Italians, 12th in the skate race, but they know they've got Antola closing from behind.
Stephen Artuzzi from Italy there in the anchor position. He did not do that 20-kilometer mass start. So again, is he better rested than these other athletes out there?
And it's only 20 seconds between 2nd and 3rd. So what was a battle for 3rd position is shaping up to be a battle for 2nd now, as Antola only 26 seconds out of 2nd place. The gold medalist in the 10K skate, silver medalist in the 20K classic. Antola in a very dangerous man right now. Could he close the gap all the way to 2nd? And can the Swedes hold off the 3 chasing teams here in our junior mixed relay? The final leg, and it's 2 times 2.5 kilometers for this skier. They're on that first 2.5 kilometer lap of this final leg. It's the men skating. Matthias Holback started this last leg with a 44-second lead for Norway over Sweden. Then Sweden had 20 seconds, and there you can see the Norwegian skier could kind of see where everyone was at. He's got a comfortable lead, trying to stay efficient, Tim.
Yes, Steve, he's got to maintain that lead, doesn't want that gap to get too much closer to him. But yet he doesn't want to go too hard on this first 2.5K lap. That he doesn't have anything left for that final lap.
Yeah, so he's got to control the emotions here. He's got a good lead as he heads up the climb, the final climb on this lap just above the stadium. He will have another 2.5 kilometer lap after this. Norway looking very strong here, looking very good as they come up this last climb on his first lap.
And that lead is still extending, 49 seconds now.
Now,
No, he's going to be getting that information from his coaches out there on the course, how big of a lead they have. He can relax a little bit, I think, with that lead, but he doesn't want to get too comfortable.
that's exactly right. So where is third, fourth, and fifth? So 18 seconds back to third and fourth, and only another 7 seconds back to the Finn. It's 15 seconds. Bergstrom of Sweden holding a good lead here. He's maybe lost a second or two since the handoff. Has he left enough for this second lap here on this final leg?
Yeah, Stephen, what we've seen earlier in this race is those athletes that have paced that first lap so well can continue to push out on that second lap, whereas some of the athletes gone a little too hard in the first lap and they start to fade second time round.
So Matthias Holbach looking very efficient, and there's Bergstrom. He knows he's got three skiers trying to hunt him down. Looking very relaxed, no emotion. Doesn't look like he's overstraining it. He's staying efficient as he skis by the Olympic rings there down in the stadium. So they're just above the stadium. Then they'll descend down and they'll lap through for another 2.5 kilometers.
And here we see Holbach lapping through. 2.5K to go for Holbach. Norway in the lead. The last time checked, they had 49 seconds.
So Norway, they won the women's relay last year, but second for the men last year. So this could be a win in the mixed relay, the first ever mixed relay. So here is the Swede, Bergstrom. I mean, what's going through his mind right now, Tim? He's got 3 guys chasing him down. Seems pretty comfortable in this position.
Yeah, Steve, he's pretty comfortable. I think at this point he knows he won't be able to close that gap on Norway. Norway's going to probably walk away with the gold if Holbach stays on his feet. Right now, he's just got to control his breathing, control his heart rate, and make sure that those guys don't catch him and challenge for that silver medal.
So you can see that gap is 50 seconds. He's just maybe lost a few seconds to Holbach, which is a good sign. Holbach, a very strong skier with the gold in the 20K Classic Mass Start race earlier this week. Artuzzi is 17 seconds back with Steiger. So that 17 seconds, it was about 20 seconds at the start of this leg. So they've only closed the gap a little bit. And Antola is 25 seconds back. Antola doesn't seem to be closing the gap much at all.
And Bergstrom, remember, he knows he's got a lead. He's probably skiing a little more relaxed, whereas the Swiss and the Italian skier, they can see him ahead on the course. You know, they got a visual on him. They're going to be trying to hunt him down. They're going to use that to try reel him in.
So Holbach looking for a first ever win in a junior mixed relay at the Nordic World Ski Championships. So he's out front. There is third and fourth. Can they catch second? Can they hold off Antola?
And Steve, these two skiers, not only are they trying to push the pace for that silver medal, they have a battle for bronze as well.
This is where it gets complicated. Like the Swiss skier Steiger, he's pushing the pace, but is he thinking, I got to hold off Antola, have a chance at a bronze, but then am I giving a free ride to the Italian? This is very tricky. The Italian in a good position here. The Italian is Axel Artuzzi. He was 12th in the skate.
Yeah, Steve, but if it comes down to a sprint finish, we saw that Steiger had 12th place in the sprint. Artuzzi was 24th in the sprint, so Swiss might have a little advantage in that sprint finish if it comes to that.
So it's 20 seconds between second and then third and fourth. So Bergstrom extending that lead by a few seconds, but only about 7 seconds behind the just ahead of the Finnish skier. Oh my goodness. What a battle we've got here for third. And you can see the Australian team. That is Noah Bradford, the Aussie junior national champion in skate technique. He's a lap down, but there is third and fourth. Switzerland.
That's the battle
and
for
Italy.
the bronze medal. Look at them push. Swiss team is pushing that descent, trying to shake the Italian.
And they're holding off the Finn, Nico Antola. Antola's not able to close this gap here. They're in the final kilometer and a half or so as we see our leader, the Norwegian Holbach,
And
leading.
you can see Holbach just standing up a bit more, not skiing as aggressive. He knows they have this gold kind of wrapped up. He's just got to stay on his feet.
This is the first ever mixed relay. The final climb to above the stadium. Norway leading this. It was initially Sweden leading out to the first leg, and there we've got the flag. The flag being handed. That's very early.
That's a Norwegian toque, I think. He might put on a Norwegian toque.
Yeah, oh, he's got the big Norwegian toque. Oh,
big
my
Norwegian
goodness.
hat. There
this
we
is
go.
a new style, Tim. This is a new style. Oh, my goodness. The Norwegians.
He's hitting the second part of that final climb.
Now it's 14 seconds between Sweden and the skiers in third and fourth. That gap is closing. Bergstrom
18 seconds,
with one more climb. 14 seconds. Bergstrom's got this climb to above the stadium. Oh my goodness, Bergstrom's got to hold on, and then the battle for third. Nico Antola still 11 seconds back in fifth. Antola was not able to close this gap. Now this climb, the Italian has been able to get a ride here.
It looks like he's attacking on the outside there. Bib number 5.
That's Artuzzi. Artuzzi for Italy, making a move here, but this is Bergstrom, looks over his shoulder. Oh my goodness, we weren't sure if he could hold off third and fourth. Bergstrom looking good.
Artuzzi was in a good position, sitting in behind Switzerland the entire race there, and now it looks like he had enough to pull ahead to secure bronze. We'll see.
And there we go, Artuzzi making attack here. This is the battle for bronze for the Italian, moving ahead of the Swiss skier. Oh my goodness, and there is Holbach, the first ever champion for Norway in the junior mixed relay here at Whistler Olympic Park.
He's gonna grab the flag, he's gonna ski across the line celebrating.
He's got the hat, he's got the flag.
Time does not matter here, it's first across the line.
Norway finally figuring out the handoff of the flag, and there's the Norwegian team celebrating the first ever champions in a junior mixed relay at the Nordic World Ski Championships. A dominating performance, but now second and third, Sweden is going to do it. Bergstrom held on. They held off Nico Antola. They held off the Italians. They held off the Swiss. Erik Bergstrom celebrating with the Swedish team for the silver.
See, but the battle out there was this fight for bronze, and there's Artuzzi cross the line in third place.
Artuzzi gets the bronze medal. What a race by the Italians. The Swiss in fourth, the Finns in fifth.
No, Artuzzi was so smart on that last leg. He sat in behind the Swiss for like 4.9 kilometers of a 5K course and made that burst on that final climb.
The Italians are celebrating, and if they're old enough, the vino will be broken out tonight for the Italians for bronze. Oh my goodness. And there is the Norwegian teams, a dominating performance. MGA, Lars Hagen, Rusvin Jensen, and Holbach. There's the Swedes. Eriksson, Lisa Eriksson, Tove Eriksson, Danielson, and Bergstrom in
see,
second.
we just saw through your screen the Canadian Luke Allen coming through ahead of the Americans.
Oh, a great race by the Canadians here. You got the Americans coming in, but Luke Allen, a hot street boy.
Yeah. Trains with the National Team Development Center in Thunder Bay this summer, goes to Dartmouth University. Awesome finish for the Canadians, 6th place.
Great result for the Canadians, the Americans in 7th. That is Jack Lang. Then the French coming in with Charlotte Dufek. The Japanese with a strong finish. That was Yamazaki. But there is your first ever junior mixed relay World Ski Championship champions. That is Holbach, Rusvin Jensen, Hagen, and Andreasen. As the Polish team comes in, this is Gazurek. for the poles coming in, completely exhausted. But Luke Allen for the Canadians really emerging there in that battle for 6th. But quite a celebration there by the Norwegians. I've never seen the hat come out. I've never seen the hat come out on a relay, but they used the hat and the flag.
The hat came out, and it came out early. There was still a couple 100 meters to go. You know, normally it's that last 100-meter finishing straight where you see flags, things like that come out.
So there's Hagen, 17-year-old high school student. Brusvin Jensen in her last year as a junior. There's the Swedish team. 2nd place, Bergstrom. I mean, think about the pressure. Think about the pressure. You're starting out 20 seconds ahead of 3 other teams. One of those skiers is stone cold Nico Antola, but no problem for Bergstrom. He held on, skied a perfect last leg, never seemed under pressure.
Yeah, Steve, I think Bergstrom found that nice balance of being able to maintain control in 2nd place and making sure that gap doesn't get too close for the other teams to challenge for that silver medal.
There is MGA taking 3 golds in this championship and a silver. And you know, Tim, we've talked about it. Celebrate the moment. Don't project forward. Celebrate the moment. Maybe there's some learning to do, but celebrate the moment. How incredible has this been to be at the Whistler Olympic Park, a venue like this, at an event like this, racing your heart out. Celebrate the moment.
Yeah,
and speaking of celebrate the moment, there's the coach. We talked to him at the restaurant a few days ago. Look at the smile on his face. A teammate of Giorgio De Senta celebrating here with the Italian team now as a coach. Oh my goodness,
yes,
they are so happy.
Italians are pumped with that result. Bronze medal to finish off this cross-country junior championships. You know, and a lot of these athletes you're talking about this venue, they are so pumped with how everything just laid out for the whole week. The organization, everything ran so smooth. All the volunteers have been so positive, so energetic out there. And then to top it all up, they're racing at an Olympic site from 2010.
And speaking of rising to the occasion, we talked about it at the start, rising to the occasion. I think you've got to give the award for most rising to the occasion to Axel Artusi. Bergstrom, I think, is in there as well, but Artusi, man, he had to sit there, 4th place, stay relaxed, wait for the moment, and that final climb makes his move.
And Steve, it's so hard to sit behind someone at times too with the emotion. You've got to be patient, wait for that moment to attack, and he did it perfectly. Just sat patiently, hung on to the Swiss skier, and made his attack on that final climb.
As we see Kazakhstan finishing, Murat Bakov, 17 years old, Murat Bakov, a very strong young skier for the Kazakh team with some beautiful technique at the finish. Great ski there by Murat Bakov for Kazakhstan. And here is the Austrians finishing up. This is Jakob Pulsleitner, national junior champion in the classic sprint, finishing strong here for the Austrians. Austrian, a young team here. They've had some strong results in the Nordic Combined side. Holzleitner finishing there for the Austrians. And there is the Australians. Noah Bradford finishing up, the Aussie national junior champion in skate. The Aussies, some great spirit, talking to some of the wax techs. So Noah Bradford finishing up for the Australians. They had a great summer or winter of skiing back in July, August, September. They talking to one of the parents saying that they were able to ski on Christmas Day at Falls Creek in the Australian Alps. So that's saying something about the snowfall they had this year. That's Noah Bradford finishing it up for the Australians.
And Steve, you talk about the snow falling. I don't see any snow falling out there right now, and so that's definitely, the weather has changed. It's going to set things up slightly different for that U23 relay we're going to see later today.
Yeah, you saw the snow falling quite hard, and it was interesting when Hagen made that break from the Swedes, he was double poling. Maybe he realized he had good skis, maybe he realized he's really strong at double poling, but he made the attack on the flats after one of the climbs, and that was the gap that started it for Norway to pull ahead of the Swedes. As we see Noah Bradford of Team Australia finished up Australia with Evans, Hinkfuss, Murnane, and Bradford.
Australia to the finish line. Let's hear it for Halsey.
The Australians ski a lot at Falls Creek, one of their big sponsors. That's where Jesse Diggins and Julia Curran of the American team skied this summer.
Also, quite a race. By all those
Oh my goodness. Wow. That battle for third, the Italians, I mean, the Switzerland looked really strong. I mean, look at this, Tim. Niklas Steiger, the final skier for Switzerland, was fourth in the skate race. He decided he had to push the pace, and he couldn't drop Artusi. Artusi was 12th in the skate. Artusi just stuck with Steiger, and on the final climb to above the stadium, Artusi made his move to get that bronze medal position. Sweden with Bergstrom holding on. I just don't know how Bergstrom did that with those skiers chasing him down. He kept control.
Total composure out there on that anchor leg for him.
And then Norway pulling ahead on the second leg with Lars Hagen pulling ahead of the Swedes after the Swedes had pulled ahead in that first leg. Lisa Eriksson pulling ahead of MGA, the only little bit of weakness we've really seen from MGA all week long. But Norway coming out on top, Sweden second, Italy third, Switzerland fourth, and Finland in fifth.
And Canada 6th, USA 7th.
Yeah, Canada, Luke Allen had a massive final leg there. The Hod Street boy from skis in Thunder Bay in the summer, skis for Dartmouth College.
Yeah, originally from the Ottawa area with the Nakertok Club. And yeah, are we going to see more snowfall for that U2-3 category, or is it just going to be this heavy cloud sitting above us today?
Yeah, or could it start snowing just partway through that race? That's coming up. We're about an hour away from our U23 mixed relay. We just saw our junior mixed relay, our first ever junior mixed relay, Norway taking the win. First ever champions of this particular event. Wow, and what a venue, Whistler Olympic Park. I mean, so many incredible memories for the Olympic Games, but so many unbelievable memories from the cross-country ski events here during the World Ski Championships for junior and U23. So we see some of the other teams starting to warm up.
Yeah, they're going to be those are probably techs and athletes from the U2-3 category starting to test skis, starting to dial in that wax, because again, weather's changed. We had snow earlier on, now that snow has stopped.
There we can see the Italians, DeMartin Pinter and Laurent there, the two women on the team, and the two men, Davide Gio and Axel Artusi.
And again, this is their last race of these championships. What a way to finish off the championships, taking home that bronze medal, flying home with some hardware.
The Axel Artusi finishing it up for the Italians to take a bronze medal. You can see our teams gathering there. Whew, we're going to have to catch our breath to get ready for the U23.
I did not expect it to break apart that much. I thought we would see, 4 or 5 teams battling it all out for a final sprint. And yeah, some amazing skiing there, especially Hagen breaking away. Even Lisa Eriksson on that first leg to break away for Sweden. There was a lot of breaks happening, and I wasn't expecting that many breakaways.
So we see Norway in the middle, Sweden on the left with the silver medal, and the bronze going to the Italians. What a great battle it was today here at Whistler Olympic Park for the first ever junior mixed relay. Look at the Italians. The Italians. Oh my goodness. Norway, Sweden, and Italy, your top 3 at the junior mixed relay here at Whistler Olympic Park. U23 still to come in about an hour.
celebrating with the flag across the line, and the Italians are pumped with a bronze medal.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Whistler Olympic Park and the FIS Nordic Junior and U23 World Ski Championship Awards for the Cross Country Junior Mixed Relay. Bonjour et bienvenue à la cérémonie des vainqueurs au Parc olympique de Whistler pour les championnats du monde junior U23 FIS de ski nordique pour les cérémonies du ski de fond junior relais mixte. The medal will be presented by. Les médailles seront remises par Mikko Rantanen, Technical Delegate FIS. Accompagné par Katrina Lobe, Communication Team Black Tusk Nordic Events Society. The bronze medalists representing Italy. Les médaillés de bronze représentant l'Italie. Team members Iris de Martin Pinter, Davide Gio, Nadine Laurent, and Axel Artusi. The silver medalists representing Sweden. Les médaillés d'argent représentant la Suède. Team members Lisa Eriksson, Elias Danielsson, Tove Eriksson, and Enrique Backstrom. The FIS Gold Medalist and FIS Junior World Champion Cross Country 2023 representing Norway. Vos médaillés d'or et champion du monde 2023 représentant la Norvège. Mila Grosbehaken Andreasen, Lars Heggen, Tuva Anine Brusven Jensen, and Matthias Holbeck. The gifts will be given by, les cadeaux seront présentés par Len Haydel, Sport Manager of the 2010 Whistler Olympics and FIS Technical Delegate. In honor of our winning team today, the Anthem of Norway. En l'honneur de nos champions du monde, l'hymne de la Norvège. One more time, your applause for our winners. À nouveau, vos applaudissements pour nos gagnants.
And Steve, what a championships here at this home of the 2010 Winter Olympics for Nordic events, the Nordic rings there.
And yeah, just amazing out there, just taking in the atmosphere. Norway celebrating so well, Sweden hanging on, and the Italians taking. We're going to see some highlights a little bit later. But
yes, Steve, but there were so many surges throughout that race. I was not expecting that. I thought with a new course that we haven't seen at these championships that the teams would stay a little closer together, but you know, Lisa Eriksson pushing the pace, Hagen pushing the pace for Norway, and then that battle for the bronze.
And here we go. This was the start. Andreasen, #1, the Norwegian that's won 2 world championships here, leading it out. Eriksson of Sweden there, #3, pushing the pace. Sammy Smith of the U.S. early on, also pushing the pace.
Going out onto that second lap, great position for the Americans, starting the second lap of the first leg. But it was these two skiers, MGA and Lisa Eriksson, skiing away from the rest of the field, and Lisa Eriksson putting on that afterburner on the final climb to set Sweden up for the lead going into leg 2.
Yeah, so Sweden leading, but then Hagen closing the gap to Danielson. Hagen, they were together. It looked like maybe Sweden was going to hang there, but Hagen handing off to Brusvin Jensen for Norway, and they held on to that lead as Brusvin Jensen hands off the whole back, and there's the celebration.
Yeah, Steve, you know that attack by Hagen set Norway up into that lead position, and Brusvin Jensen and Holback continue to just extend that lead and secure first place.
And there is your podium. Norway on top, Sweden in the silver medal position, and Italy with a great finish with Axel Artusi, the Axe, finishing up and taking that bronze medal. Switzerland in 4th. The Canadians with a strong result in 6th.
Yes, Steve, that was a great, and like you said, the Italian, he just sat so patiently in behind that Swiss skier and waited till the final climb to make it his attack.
So coming up, the U23 mixed relay, the final cross-country championship, coming up right away. Okay, so just a few more images, and this celebration of the Norwegian team, the hat and the flag, we've never seen that before. And there's the Italians. What a battle it was here at Whistler Olympic Park for the junior mixed relay. The U23s coming up next.